Have you ever wondered what to talk about when it's time to do that check in with your spouse regarding the budget? Every Friday, my husband Tony and I do something that we call a budget chat to help us stay focused on our goals and know where we stand when it comes to our finances. This is a quick little chat. It's not a full budget meeting, and that's why we call it a chat because it's simple, it's straightforward, and then we know what we are going to do for the following week or 2 weeks or whatever time frame we need to. So I thought I'd share with you what we do each week so maybe it will help you as you begin to create this budget routine in your own life.
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast.
So, like I said, this is not a full budget meeting. We do have those periodically. Usually, it's a little bit more on the monthly basis when we're sitting down to look at what is on the month ahead. Sometimes it's not even every month because we have it down pat where we're pretty consistent about how we manage our budget. But in the beginning, we had more of those budget meetings where we would really sit down with our finances and look at everything. And I think it was really important to do it when we were first getting started because we were still learning. It was giving us time to understand what our goals were, how each of us kind of managed money, how we thought about money, because you're in this as a team. And when you can understand how the other one thinks about money, it does make a big difference. So it is more important to have those longer budget meetings in the beginning. But when we are at the stage that we're at now, we have much shorter meetings and we call them budget chats because they are so quick. So we kind of have a flow of what we have gotten used to, and it's worked really well for us. So I wrote down kind of a summary of how they flow. Now, obviously, there's some nuance to this based on the week and what's happening, but it pretty consistently flows this way. And that's why I wanted to share it with you because if you are kind of struggling, like, what do we do when we're checking in on the budget? Like, what are we looking at? What are we talking about? This will hopefully give you a little bit of guidance because I think a budget routine is so incredibly important. I shared our story in the early episodes of the podcast and you can go back and listen to it, but we've been doing it for several years now and we went from being so overwhelmed with finances and we would get kind of snippy at each other because it was just frustrating. We never had any money. We were always frustrated about money. You were kind of always nitpicking at what the other one was buying because it was just that point of contention because it was just stressful. And when we finally made the decision to start budgeting, I was very hesitant and I needed to get over that because I didn't think that we had enough money to budget for one, and I didn't want to feel restricted on where I could spend money. But what ended up happening was that it gave us more freedom because we were choosing where our money was going and we were doing it together. So when it came time to spend money on certain things, we didn't have that hesitancy that the other one was spending money because it's like, well, we already planned for that. That's in the plan, so we're good. And it made it so much easier. And then we started reaching goals and we started paying off debts and we started to really do this thing together. And it made us so much closer and it improved our marriage so much because we don't fight about money. We never argue about money. Like it's never an issue anymore because if we aren't doing the things that we want to do based on our budget, like we're not hitting the goals that we want in our budget, then it's not tension. It's just a conversation like, what are we doing? What is happening? What's not working well? And then we can make adjustments and then get back on track. And it is just such a blessing to be able to do this. It has made such a difference for our marriage and for our lives. And anybody that we talk to that is willing to listen, we encourage them to start budgeting. It is just a game changer for the stress of finances, but also for your marriage. So, we're going to go into what our budget chats look like. Now, we do our budget chats every Friday. It just makes sense for us to do it. Now, it doesn't always happen on Friday if something else is going on, but for the most part, we do this sometime on Friday. The reason it works well for us on Fridays is because that's when we get paid. So if you get paid on a different day, then obviously a different day might work better for you. So this just works well for us that we are able to do this on the day that we get paid. We can get everything set up, and then we're also ready to go into the weekend with our budget, on point where we know what's happening and we don't go into a weekend of traveling or spending money or doing anything without knowing where we're at and getting us into some trouble. So we don't want that to happen. So Friday works really well for us. So the first thing that we do on our budget chat is we update our budget. Now we use a budget spreadsheet. Now, I know that I don't have this spreadsheet available to you right now. So telling you about the spreadsheet is a little bit mean, I feel like, because I don't have it to share with you yet. But we are working on a course, and I am so excited about this because this isn't part of the step, but I just want to give you a little preview. I wasn't planning on doing this, but it feels right to do it. That we are working on a course, and within that course, you will have access to our spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that we have created and have built, and it has just morphed over the years into something that works really well for the way that we budget, the way that I teach how to budget, and I help other people. I have other people using this, and it works really well for them too. And it has changed the game in how we manage our finances. And I'm so excited because I will finally have an outlet to be able to share this with you, and I'll actually show you how it works and everything. So I'm very excited about this. Now, obviously, it's not available yet because I'm still working on the course, but if you are interested in learning more about it, you can send me an email at theroutineadvantagepodcast@gmail.com. Just let me know that you are interested in knowing more about the course when details become available, and I will make sure that you are on that list to get notified when anything about the course is available. So, obviously, it's going to take a little bit more time, but hopefully, I will have more information in the coming months, and you will be one of the first to know. Just send me an email and let me know that you want to be on that list. Okay, so the first thing, like I said, we do is update our budget. Now, when we go into our spreadsheet, we are updating our income. And before I actually go into too much of this, if you don't have a spreadsheet that you're tracking your budget in, you can do this in anything. You don't have to be using a spreadsheet, but you can. You can be using a spreadsheet that you have created or that you have purchased from somewhere or you've downloaded from somewhere. You can be using a budgeting app. You can even be using just paper and pencils, like whatever works for you to be budgeting your money, that is going to work. So, really, when you are doing this budget chat, you're going to update your budget first by updating any income that you have coming in. So, like I said, we do this on our payday. So, we budget that income and track it so that we know where we're at that point of having that income in. Then we also verify any tracked expenses. So, anything we've been tracking that we have been spending, we're making sure that those match with our bank statement or in our banking app. Now, this is basically like balancing your checkbook. It's just making sure that you have accounted for all of the transactions and that you know which ones have already cleared the bank and which ones you're still waiting to clear the bank. So, just to know where you are at, because your bank balance isn't always the balance that you have available if things are outstanding and haven't been processed in your bank yet. And that's the benefit of tracking your expenses. It truly does not take long at all, but it does make a big difference in knowing where you're actually at with your money versus what your bank says. So, the other thing that we are updating at this time is anything outstanding that we haven't thought about or haven't tracked yet. So if there is something that, say, Tony was buying that hasn't hit the account yet that I didn't know about, it's just talking through those things like what are we missing? What didn't come through yet? Just making sure that we're on the same page and we have accounted for every expense that we had. It does not take long. In the beginning, it does take a little more time to do this, but once you're used to doing it, you kind of know what you're looking for and it becomes a much quicker process. We're also at this time transferring any savings goals. So, like I said, we are pulling our income in. We're also looking at what our savings goals were and transferring any money to our savings accounts from that paycheck. So, the second thing we're doing is placing holds on future expenses. So, we've already transferred our savings goals because that is hopefully the first thing that you can do because that is the goal. And now we're going to live off what is remaining. Because I can tell you right now that it is so much easier to spend money than it is to save money. So if you don't put your money into savings first and then divvy up the rest, what you're going to end up doing is divvying it up for bills and expenses and things like that, and then seeing what's remaining for savings. And then there's not going to be as much left because we're focusing on spending the money versus saving the money. So we have kind of gone back and forth on this. We have not always had it where we're doing savings first, but we have since shifted. So we used to do it paying off the debt first, and then it went to savings first and living off expenses. Over time, we kind of got lazy about it and we started kind of switching it and we were focusing on expenses, and then savings was the last thing we did. But then what we were finding is that we didn't have as much savings as we wanted to at the end of the month because we had spent too much. And we were able to shift things around because we caught that. We understood what is happening and why we need to shift things around because what we were doing wasn't working as well as we wanted it to. So we were able to make those adjustments and tweak what we were doing. And now we focus on putting the savings in first and then the expenses. And that has been working so much better. And we are actually reaching our savings goals again. So we put a hold on any upcoming bills. So most of our bills are on auto pay. So I don't have to actually pay them. Now, if we were paying bills manually, then I would do that at this point. But because they're on auto pay, I still want to track them and get them off so that it's not showing as an available balance in our spreadsheet. We are plugging those in so that we can pull that money out. So we actually have a better picture of how much money we have left after all of those bills will be paid once they come through on auto pay. So that is what we're doing now is we're plugging in any upcoming bills. We're also kind of talking through what we need for groceries. Like how much do we want to spend on groceries this week? How much do we want to spend on any events coming up? Or if we have company coming or we're taking a trip somewhere, how much money do we want to set aside for those things? So we're just kind of putting a hold on that money so we have a good idea of where we're at. Are we going to be over budget? Are we going to be, just where we want to be? Are we going to be under budget? Like what are we looking at? Where is the big picture of once we have these things purchased, where we're sitting with our finances? And then the third thing that we do is we make adjustments if we need to. So if we overspent somewhere, that money has to come from a different category. So that is something that is important to make adjustments for as you go. Rather than waiting until the end of the month and seeing that you're super over budget in a certain category, we can make these adjustments throughout the month and get back on track and pull the money from somewhere else. So then we're not overspending in multiple areas. We can make those adjustments as we go. So doing this check in each week makes a big difference. And then the fourth thing we do is we talk about kind of where we're at. So we just get like a snapshot of where we are in the big picture. We're looking at how much is left in each of the categories for the month. So we both are on the same page of where we're at with groceries, where we're at with gas, where we're at with bills. If one bill came in and it was way more than we were expecting it to be, we need to make that adjustment. If we had an electric bill that we were expecting to be much higher and it actually came in lower, what are we going to do with that extra money? Those types of things, where are we making those adjustments that we need to as a big picture? Are we able to save more than we thought we were going to be able to? Are we actually saving less than we thought we were going to be able to? We want to get that big picture of where we're at. We're also looking at where we're at in our sinking funds so that we are updated and we have what is in each of those sinking funds, where we're at with our vacation fund, with our Christmas fund, with our house fund, because we're saving to buy a new house. We're looking at the balance in each of those funds so that we both know where we are. And like I said, this takes hardly any time. It's just a quick review of where we're at so we're on the same page and we can make adjustments if we need to at this time. And then once we're done with this, we're good for another week or two. We used to be every week, but we had made some adjustments. So now we're actually looking 2 weeks out. So that is just what works well for us. You have to decide what works well for you. So, a few reasons this helps us and why it's important for us to do these check ins each week is it helps us stay accountable to our budget and what we have chosen to do with our money. Now, when you think of a budget, you might think that it's restrictive, like I did in the beginning. And in some ways, it is kind of restrictive because you're telling yourself how much you want to spend in certain areas. But that's the key is that you are telling yourself how much you want to spend in certain areas. So your budget is your plan for your money. So while you might see it as restrictive, like I did in the beginning, when you actually create a budget and you control where you want your money to go, it feels better and it doesn't feel restrictive. It feels more free because then you have a plan. You can see how much you're bringing in and where your money's going, and you can decide if you're okay with that plan. You can decide if that's where you want to be spending your money. If you have a grocery budget that is super minimal, but you are putting all of your money towards, little mini vacations throughout the year, then that is your choice. And if you feel good about that, then great. If you have a higher grocery budget because you want to be eating all organic, super nutritious, like all these things, and you want to be spending more in the grocery category and less in activities, and you're doing more free things like hiking and biking and things like that that don't cost a lot, then that is your choice. So you get to choose where your money is going. And rather than just spending and always feeling like, oh, I just have no money left to do what I want to do, then you get to choose this ahead of time and you get to create your plan. And then you feel a lot better about sticking to your plan because you're doing the things that you want to be doing with your money. So that is what has helped us get to this point where it just helps us to actually stay accountable to our plan and what we want to do with our money. It also helps us stay on the same page with each other because, like I said, we are doing this together. We are doing this as a team. We're married. All of our money that we bring in, we both work full time. So, all of our money that we bring in goes into the same account. Everything is shared, and we just do this all together. So, the decisions are made together, the bills are paid together, like everything is created together. And it brings us closer in our marriage because we are doing this together. And that makes a big difference. We are also more likely to reach our goals when we're doing these weekly check ins because if you're doing regular check ins, you can make the changes and reroute as needed more often. So if we are doing weekly check-ins and we see that we're kind of overspending in a certain area based on what we want to be spending, or we're getting close to maxing out the budget that we had for groceries that month, and we're only on the second or third week of the month, we know that we're going to need to either, start eating out of our fridge and freezer more often and really cut down on the grocery bill that week, or we need to, make adjustments from somewhere else in a different category to accommodate another grocery shopping trip if we're wanting to stay within our goals. And being able to kind of take a look at that and make those adjustments each week helps keep us on track to reach our goals more in the long term because we have more opportunities to readjust and get us back on track rather than waiting until the end of the month and really blowing our budget. Then we only have, say, 12 opportunities to readjust throughout the year if we're only doing this every month. But because we're doing it every week, we actually have 52 opportunities to readjust and get back on track. So that helps a ton in being able to stay committed to our goals and actually be able to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. And this is by no means perfect. When you create a budget, it will not go perfectly. You just expect that. But when you keep trying and you keep learning and keep making adjustments to continue improving, everything just gets better. Life gets better, money gets better, your finances improve. And when you take this as a team and you're really doing it together, whether you're married or whether you're single, even if you're single, just do this for yourself. You will appreciate it so much. And it's really not hard. It just takes time to get it set up. And then once you have it set up, it is very easy to be consistent with your budget. It's just a matter of understanding what you want to do. And I do have budgeting episodes. I have one that is sets up your base budget, and then I have one that is called now that you have your base budget set up, what to do with it, or something like that about how to track expenses once you have your base budget set up. that is going to make it so easy for you to follow a budget and then do these weekly check ins, whether you're doing them with a spouse or whether you're doing them with yourself. This is what you kind of want to look at and what has worked really well for us of what we're looking at. So hopefully it helps you too. So I can recap those steps of what we include in our budget chats. So, number one is to update your budget. This is where you're updating your income, you're verifying tracked expenses, you are comparing those expenses to your bank app and making sure everything balances out. You're updating anything that is outstanding, and you are transferring any money to your savings accounts that you have planned out. And then, number two, you are placing holds on future expenses. So, these are any upcoming bills, any groceries, event fees, things like that. Number three, you are making adjustments as needed. So, this is where you readjust and get back on track if you fell off at all. And then number four is we just review a snapshot of where we are right now. We want to look at what is left in each category and where we have money to spend and kind of think about the rest of the month and how that's going to play out and how much money you have in each of those categories for the rest of the month. You also want to look at what is in your savings goals. This is where we look at how much we have in each of our sinking funds to see if we are on track with how much we are trying to save by a certain amount of time, if that's what we're doing. So we're just looking at a whole big snapshot of where we are with all of our finances. And that is what we do with our budget chats. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to share what you do with your budget chats, or you have questions about something with your budget, or want clarification on something that I've talked about in the past, you can come and join us in our Facebook community, and I am happy to answer your questions in there. You can join us there at facebook.com/groups/the routine advantage community. And the benefit of joining us in there is also that when you join, you can actually go to the top of the group at the pinned post or the featured posts, and there is an episode library. And this is a spreadsheet that has all of our episodes listed in it. And you can use the search function to plug in budget or money or anything like that. And it will highlight all of the episodes that have those keywords in the titles. So that will make it a lot easier to kind of pinpoint which episodes you might want to listen to if you're looking for more on this topic or any other topic that I talk about. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope to see you in the Facebook community. Don't forget to answer the questions so that we don't, kick you out thinking you're a spam account because we get a lot of those. So make sure you answer the questions when you request to join us in that group. And I hope to see you in there. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will catch you back here on Monday.
Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.